and there were just a number of factors that really made it clear that I no longer wanted to be in the profession. So what's up, beautiful people, and thank you for coming back to my channel. For those of you who are new, please hit that subscribe button. So as you can see from the title of this video, I will be talking about why I quit my lawyer job and left the profession entirely. Now, this is a topic that is very dear to me because it has significantly influenced who I am. It was my biggest heartbreak, but it was also the catalyst for my change and me walking in my purpose. So let's rewind to when I was a small Shelly belly. I always knew that I wanted to do law. I was a very curious child. I would question a lot of things. I learned things very quickly, and my mom always used to say, you look like you'll be good for law. And I liked law as well. So when she would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always said, I want to be a lawyer. So I am from Trinidad and Tobago, and I lived in the west side of Trinidad. And it was an environment that was a bit volatile. I was exposed to hearing gunshots in the night. I did see illegal activity, and just growing up as a child, I felt like I wanted to make a change. I wanted to make a difference, and I felt that law was the way to do it. Because I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer, I worked very hard in high school, studied, got all the grades that I needed to get, went on and did my A-levels, and I actually became the recipient of a national scholarship. And that allows you to study whatever you would like to study. And of course, I chose to study law. So I studied my Bachelor of Laws at the University of the West Indies, again knowing that I wanted to get into criminal prosecution. Now, one of the reasons why I did choose criminal prosecution is it requires a lot of advocacy. It requires you to be on your feet and to attend court almost every day, Monday to Friday. And when I looked at my track record in law school, I was doing really good in trial advocacy. I actually represented the law school in trial advocacy. I got certificates for my work in trial advocacy and criminal law. And it just seemed, like this was the direction that I needed to go in, and it was the right choice. So once I decided to prosecute and work for the state, I did that for 3 years. And let me tell you guys, it was not the easiest, but it was my dream job. And if any of y'all know what it feels like to have your dream job, words cannot describe it. Every single day I went to work and I was so happy, and I was just so pumped and ready to represent the state, to work with law enforcement, and to really give victims who might have lost their loved ones some type of closure and some type of justice. If it is you are not from the Caribbean, you must know that prosecuting in the Caribbean is not easy. And it's not easy because of a number of factors. One, the judicial system is very overwhelmed. Two, we are dealing with staff shortages. Three, garnering of quality evidence by law enforcement is difficult. Four, we have an overburdened forensic department. Five, you are dealing with witness protection. Six, you are dealing with jury intimidation as well as prosecutor intimidation. Seven, you are working in a system that is significantly characterized by adjournments, as well as not having enough attorneys to deal with many of the cases that come before the court. Guys, it's just an overwhelming system, and it's a system that doesn't function as optimally as it can function. Now, it was a role that I thoroughly enjoyed. I always wanted to be a prosecutor. I always wanted to prosecute murders, and there I was doing the thing, and I was doing it in a magistrate's court, and I was also supporting senior attorneys in high court before juries. And what was interesting is I remembered growing up in the field and learning about law and trial advocacy. I was one of those students that would go to the public gallery just to watch certain attorneys in action. And there was one particular attorney, she's a senior counsel, that I absolutely admired. She represented fearlessness. She was the epitome of what a prosecutor should be. And every time that she had court, I would make sure to be in the public gallery just looking at her. And I was like, I want to be like her one day. And I just had that inspiration and that benchmark, that role model to look up to. The interesting thing is, when I got into prosecution, I got the opportunity to work with this same person, this role model of mine, at the same time. And that meant everything to me. I learned so much from her. She taught me so much about trial advocacy, about presentation in the courtroom, about garnering evidence and creating legal submissions to support the evidence that we have. It was such an immersive experience for me, and it really influenced my respect for the profession and made sure that every single thing that I did when I was in that profession, I did it with high quality and with excellence. So by the 2.5 year, I started to realize that the profession had a little bit of difficulties when it came to professional development. And because I am an intellect and because I'm very curious and always wanting to learn more, there were aspects of the role that I wasn't professionally developing in. And of course there were opportunities for mentorship and that sort of thing, but in terms of climbing the professional ladder, it was difficult. And if you work with the state, you would know that it's a very bureaucratic system, and you have to put in your application to be able to move up the ranks, and sometimes you don't get a call back, sometimes it just doesn't happen. So I started to wonder, what was my progression going to look like within the organization? But then tragedy struck, I would say, in my 2.5 year of prosecution. And basically, that person that was my role model, that person that I looked up to, that person that I learned so much from, she was unfortunately assassinated. And guys, I can't explain to you how heartbroken I was, how sad, how angry, how hurt I was. I literally felt like everything that I was building in my career just came tumbling down. I felt like the carpet from under my feet was just pulled off and I was flat on my face. That's how I felt. And what made it worse is that the response of the organization related to a prosecutor's assassination was just not appropriate. It was just not what you would expect. And I just felt that this was not the system that I wanted to work in. And there were just a number of factors that really made it clear that I no longer wanted to be in the profession. From my lack of professional development to not seeing people moving up the ladder, to limited professional progression, to being in a role and feeling unsafe and unsupported, was really big for me as well, because what many people don't know is in the field of criminal prosecution, the majority of prosecutors are female. I have been through the experience of the accused family heckling me. I've been through the experience of intimidation, people following me, people threatening me. I'm feeling as though I am not safe, having to ask for somebody to walk with me to court. I've been through that feeling, and it created so much of paranoia and trauma inside of me as well. And it just became a very difficult profession to navigate, both mentally and emotionally. Now, once I decided to leave law, I went through an entire identity crisis. Now, for those of you who have been in a profession such as law, or even a doctor, for instance, you would know that your identity is your career, because you've studied for so long, you've been practicing for so long in that field, so people know you as that. They knew me as Shelly the prosecutor or Shelly the attorney. And because I no longer held that hat, I had to ask myself, well, who are you? What do you have to offer now that you're not an attorney? And I had to really dig within myself, and it was a very difficult year. I remembered that I mourned, and I mourned two things. I mourned the death of somebody that I lost that was very important to me and died in a very volatile and violent way. And I mourned me leaving the profession, something that I absolutely loved. And I felt like, I was robbed in some ways. I felt like the judicial system, just kind of robbed me in some way. These were my feelings. And I had to work through a lot of where all of this was coming from. Now, of course, when I decided to leave the profession, I got significant backlash. And the backlash was from persons within the organization. I also got backlash from my family. Persons within the organization, I remembered one person in particular was very upset that I was leaving, and me leaving was seen as a soft thing. But it really was that I was just simply heartbroken, and it was such a personal thing for me as well. And of course, I had questions from my family, why is it that you're leaving? We did not send you to law school to just ups and leave just like that. Why are you doing it? You spent so many years, you're so good at it. And it was just something that I could not explain to anyone. I could not explain how heartbroken I was. And there were people that were saying, well, Shelly, why don't you do corporate law? Why don't you do non-litigious matters? Why don't you stay in the profession and you can work behind closed doors? And that was not the thing that motivated me to get into law in the first place. I wanted to criminal prosecute, nothing more, nothing less. And that is just what it was. And because there was so much of hurt around the role, I no longer wanted to be in the profession. And not only that, I didn't want to work behind a desk or work for some big corporate organization that didn't really cater to the grassroots people, that didn't really answer to the problems and plagues that my country was facing, which was predominantly crime. So it wasn't a negotiation for me, and yes, I could have done all of those things, but it wasn't the thing that drove me. It wasn't my passion. After me leaving, there were people who I admired deeply and dearly, who were senior, very senior to me. They left the organization as well. I left the organization 6 years ago, and looking back, some people are still exactly where I left them 6 years ago with no type of promotion or anything, and some of the people have left. And I always look back and I think, oh my God, could you imagine if I stayed? My life would be so different. I probably would not have had my business. I probably would not have had a doctorate. Things would be so different. I look back on just all of the heartache of leaving a profession that I absolutely loved, and leaving a system that I felt just wasn't working for me. I look back on it and I say to myself, I got into that profession because I wanted to impact society. I wanted to help people. I wanted to work around, creating some order to the disorder that I was seeing. And when I think about what I'm doing now in business and academia, I have a company that is touching lives. I am doing what I love, which is research, and I am exactly where I need to be. And I just want to say that to anybody that is listening to me and you're feeling like you want to leave the job that you're in, you want to walk away from the profession, I just want you to know that when you leave and when you walk away, you don't leave your potential behind, you don't leave your skill set behind, you don't leave your heart and your drive behind, and you don't leave your passion and your dreams. Those things go with you. All right, so don't feel as though, oh, well, if I leave the profession or if I leave this job, I am ripped of the things that I am. You're not ripped of those things. You were born with that and you will always have that. And that was the biggest lesson for me, actually, when I decided to leave law and to make something new of my career and my life. Life has a way of knocking you over, but know that there is good intentions in it. There is something to be learned in that. And me leaving law really taught me about my love for myself and my love for my peace of mind and my love for my professional development. I chose me before a profession. I chose me before an organization. and I'm so much more happier than I have ever been. So guys, I hope that this video inspires you in some way. I hope that it encourages you that if you want to leave, you're no longer happy, it's okay to do so. Your skills, your dreams, and your passions go with you. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. And I want you to know that it is okay if you change your mind. It is okay if you no longer like the thing that you once loved. And it is okay to start afresh. I did it, and so can you. So until next time, I always say to you, you are light, you are love, and you are destined for greatness. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on what I shared, whether you have gone through something similar. Please share it in the comments so that I can interact with you, and see you in another video. Thanks so much. Mwah. Bye.